Okay, so we're going to talk about where to put your perennial garden. You've decided you want to plant more pollinators for your garden. And so one of the hard things to find out is whether your spot that you want to plant is actually a good spot for pollinator gardens. So number one, you have to make sure you're in full sun. That's always helpful because the sunnier the site, probably the better the pollinators that'll come to your garden. But the main thing is soil. What's the soil look like? So we're going to go through a couple types of soil that you probably run into at your landscape and tell you how to maybe better prepare that soil so you're ready to plant your pollinators. So this is a typical area where we're just going to kind of scrape off the mulch, and we're going to run in. We certainly have weeds. So one thing that you want to do before you start your garden is make sure that you're pulling up any weeds that you have. If you run into things that whether this garden's going to be good or not is really going to depend on whether you have good soil. So as I'm digging in this garden, that's pretty good soil to plant with. So I know right now that I can probably be pretty successful at a garden here. But the first thing I want to do is make sure that this is weed free. So I'm probably going to either dig out any weeds with my shovel, or if this were grass, you could shave it out with the spade and then work up your soil. But you want to take out what's green and make sure nothing is there. You could clean it off like this. And now that I've got it weed free, I'm going to start digging it up. Now sometimes you can come in and I like to dig a little bit off the top at first. And then just keep working it. And now's the time, if you had compost to add in, you could add in the compost. What you don't want to do is have your soil all cloddy and clumpy. So that has to be broken up. So when we dig our hole for our perennial, we don't have big clods in the garden. So again, you do this however big your garden's going to be. Okay, now that I've got the soil broken up, I just want to take my rake. This is a steel rake. And I'm just going to grade my soil and see how all my bigger pieces get pulled out. And I smooth my soil to exactly the grade I want it to be. Now I'm ready to plant. All right, so now what we want to do is get our plant ready to plant. So I usually make a little depression so I know exactly where I'm putting my plant in. Then I'll dig my hole. I'll throw all my nice loose soil. Get in. Take my plant. I go around the stem of the plant, turn it upside down, give it a little shake. Look at that nice root system. I like to break the root system up just a little bit. This is an onion. It's an allium. There's Allium millennium, Allium summer beauty, Allium peekaboo. All are great pollinator plants. So then I set my plant in. I come back with my good topsoil. I firm it in the ground. And now we're set for watering. So some of you might not be so lucky to have good topsoil. And if you dig into the ground and all you're finding is wet, yellow, sticky clay, you might have to do a little bit more effort to create your pollinator garden. This is an area where that condition existed, and what we did is we scraped out all the weeds, got it ready to go, and then we added topsoil. This is a topsoil mix, and you can see how good this soil that we brought in is. So this is a composty soil mix that was brought in. It's shredded, so it's really easy to work with, and it's from one of our local soil companies. And you can see how nice this soil is to work with. So really, if you're going to do a big area, large area, sometimes getting 4 to 8 yards of good composted soil mix and building up a nice berm or an area might be the more efficient way to go than trying to dig down into that wet, heavy clay that you might have. So really, that's a judgment call that you have to make. But it's easier to go up and raise your bed up maybe a foot, even 15 inches, so you have a really good soil base. Because soil is really going to make a difference whether the plants thrive or whether they struggle. So hopefully you learned a little bit about planting in good soil. So what we'd like to do is share all this information with you on the zoo's website. Go to the garden section, and we want to encourage everybody to plant for pollinators. And this is our pollinator garden. We're planting for pollinators. Have a good day.